Hey guys, so today I am doing a video on obviously Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionists. I was actually supposed to film this last week when the first episode came out, but I just didn't get around to it, so now we're gonna do 1 and 2 together, and then hopefully if I stick to it then there should be a video every week after the new episode comes out. A little bit of backstory. Pretty Little Liars is actually one of my absolute favourite shows, if not my absolute favourite show in the whole world. So going in I was a bit apprehensive because like I said, I love Pretty Little Liars, and the fact that they were promoting it so hard as Pretty Little Liars The Perfectionist, like they haven't just called it The Perfectionist, they've called it Pretty Little Liars The Perfectionist, so they're kind of adding that weight to it and that expectation to obviously draw in fans from Pretty Little Liars to watch the show. But yeah, so when I watched both of them, I made loads of notes, so I'm just gonna go through them and chat about them. I have my Pretty Little Liars mug here. That is how much I love it. I have a mug. It's also super cute. I might do a video on Pretty Little Liars, just like my opinions and my favourite characters and ships and everything, because when Pretty Little Liars actually aired, I wasn't confident enough to do that. Like, I wanted to do like my theories and like stuff like this for episodes of Pretty Little Liars, but I just wasn't there yet. So I missed out on that, so I'm really glad that I can do it this time. So just based on the first 2 episodes, I do really like it. I do think it's good. I don't like it as much as I did the first 2 episodes of Pretty Little Liars. I went into this new show without seeing any kind of trailers or anything. The only thing that I had seen was the cast pictures, so I knew who was going to be in it. Obviously that Ali and Mona were going to be in it, and then I saw pictures of the new guys, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know any plot lines, I didn't know anything, I didn't watch anything, so I went in completely blind, which is what I like to do with shows. It's what I used to do with Pretty Little Liars. I would never watch the promos for next week. I just like to sit down and watch it and not know anything that's going to happen. So obviously it takes place at Beacon Heights University. I think that this is a really good choice for them to go for the, obviously the uni side of it, uni college side of it, rather than another high school drama, because it just gives a different kind of perspective on it and a new setting, and obviously everyone's a bit older and it's just a bit more adult. I feel like that's definitely the kind of vibe that I got watching it, is that it is supposed to be more mature than Pretty Little Liars was when it first started. Definitely I think people who used to watch Pretty Little Liars, I feel like they kind of watched it, grew up with it. Not everyone, obviously, older people watch Pretty Little Liars, but I think maybe the core like fan base kind of grew up with it, and to go back to high school now wouldn't really make sense. So the fact that they've, you know, put it with older students to kind of match the older audience that Pretty Little Liars has now. Being in a university setting, you can talk about more kind of like mature themes. You know that it's not gonna be that kind of childish element that Pretty Little Liars did have in its first seasons, which I adored at the time and I still love because I've rewatched it. But childish kind of humour and childish acts and things like that they had, you kind of, I'm hoping anyway, you won't get this time around, which I think will be a nice change. And they can maybe look into some more interesting topics, kind of like how they started to do after the time jump in the last season of Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, I kind of hope that it's all just a bit more mature, I guess, and it's all just a bit more grown up than Pretty Little Liars felt. I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion or not, because I haven't really seen anybody talk about it, but I don't like the new intro. I like that they wanted to change it up and they didn't want to have the exact same song, but I don't like how they've changed it, and I also don't like how it's just like it's just like a puddle, like it's just like pans down into a puddle. I don't know, that's kind of just like a nitpicky thing and kind of a personal thing, but yeah, I didn't really like that. This was one of the biggest things kind of going into this new show. I was like, how are they going to approach Emily and Allison? That was my big thing. Like, as soon as they were like announced that Allison was going to be coming back and moving away, I was just kind of like, how's that gonna work? This is just like a side thing, but why the hell do those babies look like Allison? Like, why do they look like her? In the show, it's Emily's eggs and it's Ren's, you know, little swimmers. How did Emily and Ren result in these two little blonde, blue-eyed, gorgeous little babies? Like, how does that even work? Like, surely they should like be brunette, have like gorgeous brown eyes and like a deeper skin tone. Like, Allison carried the babies, but genetically they aren't her, so they aren't hers, so they wouldn't look like her. I don't know, that's just kind of like, again, another like picky thing, but I'm just like, oh, Marley with the inconsistencies, you know? I feel like in Pretty Little Liars, originally you didn't really get to see that Ali Mona dynamic very much, but I like how they're like kind of like weird friends, and they're like kind of looking out for each other and kind of not, and they're a bit like kind of care about each other, but we're still a bit apprehensive of each other and don't know if we can trust each other, but we're kind of the only people that we have, so we kind of have to trust each other, but we don't still really. Allison said that like Emily loves her, but she just can't get past the past, and like, I don't know, to me, when you actually have seen the show and you know Emily and how much she just adored Allison and like how happy they both were in the end, I don't believe that Emily is that kind of character that would be like, oh, I still don't trust you and all this stuff. Like, that to me just isn't her character, so I find it kind of hard to believe. It's kind of, I guess, the easiest way to explain it, so I understand why they've done it, but yeah, I'm still kind of like, I don't buy this, but whatever, we'll carry on, we'll move on from it. Mona talking to herself, okay, that to me, I was kind of like, this is weird. Like, I was like, what if there's somebody on the other side of that mirror? But then I was like, that wouldn't make sense, because how I pictured it was like, you know, in like police stations where it's like a mirror, but then those people are stood on the other side and they can still see everything. That was kind of what I pictured, but then I was like, this is Allison's house, like how would they get behind the mirror? And then right at the end, it was the mirror, but it's just like some weird electronic like screen mirror, like that she, like the people can see her through. So I kind of guessed it, but also at the same time really didn't guess it. It was a bit much for me, to be honest. I feel like the show, they had me hooked, and then that at the end I was a bit like, really? I love seeing Ali as the teacher. I love that character arc for her and that character development, because obviously how we see her at the start of Pretty Little Liars, she's this like bully and she's mean, and to see her like now, I love that kind of character development, and I think it's done really, really well, because you see parts of her kind of old personality start to peek out a little bit, but overall you can see how she's like changed, and how she has more like empathy now and more concern for people. And this Nolan guy, I don't know, okay? I don't know about him. He gives me really Noel Khan season 1 vibes. Like that for me screams it. Like when Noel was like kind of being weird around school and like would always be there hanging out and always looking dodgy. Like, this is the vibe I get from this guy. When we met, I don't know her name in the show, but to me she's Lily Vanderwoods, and like that is her through and through. Serena's mum from Gossip Girl. Obviously she's applying the pressure, so I was like, maybe I do like this guy, maybe I don't. I'm just like, Caitlin's mum, like, I really like that they've got that kind of representation of her having two mums, and it's not a big deal. Like, it was literally just mentioned in passing that he was like, oh, like, this is your mum, like, cheating on your other mum. It wasn't like some big plot line or anything. It was just fit in naturally, like how it would just in real life. Like, you would just be like, oh yeah, like my mum and my other mum. Like, I like that now in TV it is just more casual and is just kind of put in, like how Dylan's got this boyfriend and it's not a big plot line or anything, he just has a boyfriend. Nolan kind of gives me that Ali vibe of like having stuff on people and using it against them to get what he wants from them. And I think Ali recognises that in him too. And then Ava has her like dodgy dad. I guess we're going to find out more about that. I found that scene so sad when she was like, yeah, they just left me with nothing. And then in the second episode when she was like to Dylan and Caitlin, she was like, you know, you guys have your family, you have your boyfriend, and I don't have anybody. I think it's really sad, and I want them to be like a little squad so bad because I already love Ava. She's probably my favourite character aside from Ali, but I really do enjoy her character. I think she's really good. For me, when they were like, oh, like Taylor's dead and all that, I was like, listen, no. I was like, I know Pretty Little Liars and this person is not dead. I felt it. I felt it in my gut. I was like, we haven't seen any kind of like body, and like I just knew it. I was like, this girl is not dead. I promise you, whether she comes out now or at the end of the season, this chick is not dead. And I was right. I did find it interesting how they're like, you know, the surveillance is too much and they're trying to like figure it all out, and obviously Nolan, then you start to see that maybe he isn't such a bad guy. What I love about Ali, you know, she sees through all the bullshit because she did that, and I really like that now it's her trying to like solve the mystery and solve the problems, whereas before she was the mystery. When she like went out at the end of the last episode, when that annoying FBI agent was talking to them and she was like, oh, they were all at my house, and she was like, bring it on, bitch. I was like, thank you for giving us the like core Ali that for me I feel like was kind of missing from the last seasons of PLL, because she was a changed person, and like that's great that she's not like, you know, bullying everyone obviously anymore. But I did miss that Ali like sass and spark, and there were a few moments in the last seasons where we saw it again, but I feel like this time they properly brought her back, and I love it so much. When I first watched PLL, I was a bit like, oh, I think I know who killed Allison. I think this, I had these theories, but in this one I genuinely don't know. I don't really think it was any of the core three, and then I thought maybe that it was Caitlin's new boyfriend, but then I was like, is that too obvious? I just can't tell with this Nolan guy. I think he is a good guy. Like, I think him and his sister were just trying to protect the people from this, like, I can't remember what it's called, beacon guard, like, security system. Ava was said that Nolan used to bring her to that spot in the woods, and that she felt safe there, and I'm pretty sure that's the same spot in the woods that Nolan went to, where the security thing didn't reach there. It's definitely got a more mature vibe than Pretty Little Liars. It's darker. I was very surprised at the gruesomeness, I suppose, of Nolan's death, because obviously in the first seasons of PLL we didn't really have anything that gruesome. I think the most gruesome thing was probably Noel Khan's head bobbing down the stairs. This is kind of on par with that. Kind of how PLL started to get more mature in its last seasons. We've kind of just started there straight away with this new show, which I really, really love. A plot thing that I'm really enjoying is the focus on the fake lives, with obviously Caitlin being the fake girlfriend, Ava and Dylan being the fake friends, because it's kind of like mirroring real life in a way. It's very relevant in today's society where we have everyone trying to project their best lives on social media, and he's basically doing what other people do. He's just doing it in real life. You can post pictures like with your boyfriend or girlfriend and everyone's like, oh, they're so cute, but in reality, you know, couples aren't like that. They're not, you know, even the most perfect couples will fight and will have bad times. Even people who seem like they have the most perfect lives will get sad, and they will feel lonely or feel like they're not succeeding enough, all that kind of stuff. You just don't post it, because why would you? And Nolan's doing that same concept. He's just doing it to a whole new level, but it's still a really interesting idea and concept to talk about. because yeah, like everyone's hiding something, and it's, yeah, it mirrors, I think it really mirrors today's society, and it's definitely a really, it's just a really interesting topic to talk about, and I'd like to see what people think about it, because to me, I'm just like, yeah, that's how people are these days, and whether they want to admit it or not, that's how it is. Like, Dylan's boyfriend, is it Anthony, I think, maybe? I get weird vibes from him. In the first episode, I was like, oh, he's like cute and stuff, and now I feel like he might be dodgy. Like, I just have this weird sense about him that he knows, I don't know if he knows something, or maybe he killed Nolan, or I don't know, but I just get this weird vibe from him that in the future he's gonna show his true colours a bit, and it's not gonna work out with them, or he's gonna have done something dodgy. I just get this vibe about him. Another thing that I liked, which sounds kind of morbid, but I liked how sad Ava was. Ava's like, you know, not wanting to talk to anybody, and she just, you know, and she's upset, and she just cries randomly, and she doesn't want the curtains open and all that kind of stuff. I feel like is a pretty accurate representation of being sad. And one thing that I feel like happened in Pretty Little Liars is people would die all the time in that show, and no one was ever really truly sad about it. There was like, you know, when Spencer thought that Toby was dead, there was kind of that element, but they kind of skip over it. Like when Maya was found dead, you don't really get to see that side. Like Emily was crying with the body, and then there was like fast forward to season 3, and she was in a bit of a weird like rebelling, not caring about anything type place. And yeah, like Mona, they thought Mona had died, and she was like Hannah's best friend, even though obviously she was A, but Hannah didn't like really grieve for her. And when Ali, like they said that she had died, nobody really grieved, they didn't really grieve for her either. So I don't know, I just like that there's a natural good representation, and that they're being real and showing the characters' emotions like that. I think it's really good. Caitlin and Jeremy. This Jeremy guy, again, like the Anthony guy, gives me dodgy vibes. I don't like him. But I don't know if that's just because I don't really like his character. I don't find him like appealing. I don't find him interesting. They give me very Aria Ezra vibes, and her saying, you know, like he deserves a real girlfriend that he can go on dates with and go outside with. That is literally how Aria and Ezra were in season 1. I thought it was so sad that Ava had to pretend at the funeral to support Caitlin, when really it was her that was like grieving over him as a boyfriend. Whereas, and I felt like Caitlin showed no emotion. Like for me, if that was me, like a student at that school, I would find her suspicious, and I would find her dodgy, because she didn't cry at the funeral, and she didn't cry. She was there when his body was found, and Ava was the one who was uncontrollably sobbing, and she wasn't. And then she was at school like the next day with Dylan when they were talking in the cafeteria, and she was like dressed nice, and she was fine. Whereas Ava was the one who was grieving, like in her room, no one could find her. Yeah, like I feel like Caitlin would have been so suspicious. When Lily, I keep calling her Lily, but Nolan's mum was like, you should sit up front, it's what Nolan would have wanted. I was like, oh my god, like this is literally Ali's funeral all over again. Like when she walked up to the front, she was standing there staring at the picture, and Caitlin like touched her hand and stuff, which like completely mirrored when Aria stands and looks at Alison's picture, and then I think it's Hannah like touches her hand, and then she sits down with her. I kind of like, I really enjoy those little parallels. What else have I got here? Oh, the Mason like friend guy, who's like he's like a childhood friend, I think, of Nolan, but he used to date Caitlin, and I'm like, I feel like this guy knows stuff. And like Dylan said that he looked too sad, so I'm guessing that something bad happened between him and Nolan, and that's why Dylan's confused about why he's sad. So this new like is it Dana or something, this new FBI lady, Wilden through and through. She's the Wilden of this season. I don't like her, I find her rude, and it's kind of how Wilden was as well, which is like fine and good, but like I said, I do enjoy the PLL like parallels, but also couldn't they have had an FBI agent that actually, I guess they couldn't have one that actually wants to help, because then that wouldn't push the like story along. But I was almost a bit like, oh, she's literally like the same as Wilden. like she's rude and she's like, oh, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this murder, like all you were involved and I know it, all that kind of stuff, like exactly how Wilden was, like pulling him out of class and all that. So, and then when, yeah, that Mason guy, he was like, if you need an alibi for that night, like who asked that? Like why does he think that Caitlin did it? And why does he think she doesn't have an alibi for it? Like how does he know? I don't know. There's definitely more to the story there. That's why I feel like I can't go too in depth, because obviously I've only seen 2 episodes, but that's what I like about it, is like the theories and the who's this and what's this and why is this happening, that I feel like, yeah, PLL was a bit lacking in its last season. To kind of sum it up, I am really enjoying it so far. I think I was going to enjoy it no matter what, because I just have missed Pretty Little Liars, so to see them all again, I just love it. But also I do genuinely enjoy the series. I think that it's going to be good. I like the characters. I think they're all very interesting. I'm interested in all of them. There's not really a character where I'm a bit like, meh, don't really care about you. Actually, that's not true. That Jeremy bloke, Caitlin's boyfriend, he can just, yeah. But everyone else, I am interested in them, and I like them, and I like where their story's going, and I like all the plots. There's not really a story where I'm like, that's a bit boring, or like I kind of want to skip this scene. Like I am invested in all of it, and I feel like the 40 minutes like flies by like it used to with Pretty Little Liars. I feel like this is like a really niche video to make, but anyway, tell me what you think down below. If you like it more than PLL, if you think if they've done well. Obviously spin-offs, there's always going to be that like weight of the name of and success of the first show. I guess I'll see you guys for the next one next week, if I commit to it. So yeah, bye. I don't know, I'm so awkward. I love Ali. That's it. Hannah would be like, ugh. I don't know what else to say. So awkward.